Right. Good afternoon to everyone. Happy Friday. Good day for afternoon for you. What's up, Gordy G over in the YouTube chat? Nice to see you, my friend. Salutations. Oh, see it. Let me. I have finally ironed out the streaming setup, basically, to make sure that we keep on the YouTube link. Right, we're on the YouTube link that was created earlier today. I think so, right? Okay. The page said upcoming. It scared me. Yeah, no, we're live, and we're on the one that we set up. Cool. I think I finally worked out the YouTube restream integration. I practiced the last couple of weeks. Thought was the correct thing over on my own channel. I was, which is a bit different than my process there. But looks like I got it figured out. How's it going, Sam Blemmy? Sam Blenny. Nice to see my friend over on the Discord, and Beautograph on YouTube. Sounds cutting in and out, but it might be on my end. Let me see here. We could maybe tap that up just a tad. I don't want to make it too loud. There is a noise gate, so if I get too quiet, then I cut out. And I was also talking a bit quiet, so it's possible I just got under the threshold and it cut out a bit. So hopefully that'll be a bit better. If not, maybe try a refresh and see that fixes it up. All right, so let's go to the browser first of all. This one. So yeah, welcome. First of all, hello to everyone watching. If you are new to this program, my name is Tim. This is the Deep Dive, which is a weekly live stream program. It was started by Scott Shawcroft, the lead developer of CircuitPython. Scott is out this week, had to take care of some other stuff tonight, so he's not here. I'm filling in, and then right now, I believe what the plan is, plans can certainly change, but I think what the plan right now is Scott is planning to do next week, and then I think that is the final one for him, the final deep dive before he goes on leave, and then I will be deep diving with you probably for the next couple of months, if not the majority of the rest of the year. So that is where we're at there. If you are in fact new and you don't know what the deep dive is, this is a live stream program where we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of CircuitPython. When Scott's around, he's working on some very cutting-edge latest stuff that's typically, not even part of CircuitPython yet because he's still working on it. When I am here, I do not work at quite the same depth of level. We usually do a bit more at the Python level when I'm around, but we do occasionally venture into the core some as well. This week, we are in Python land working on the launcher for the Fuji OS. I should also take a step back, though, and say if you happen to be new and you don't know about anything that I'm talking about, the main thing that is talked about on this stream is CircuitPython. Whether Scott's here or I am, CircuitPython is the theme that ties it all together. If you don't know what that is, you can learn more at the main website. CircuitPython.org is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. The Metro RP2350 is the one that is most close to what I am using today. But there are all different shapes and sizes of these microcontrollers. There's 602 of them here that support CircuitPython. The way it works typically when you use CircuitPython with these devices, there are a number of other ways you can program them. But when you use CircuitPython, the way it works most commonly is you plug it into your computer with a USB cable. It shows up like a thumb drive. You can edit a Python code file on that drive. And then when you save it, the microcontroller will execute that Python code for you, and your code can interface with whatever other peripherals you have connected to the microcontroller. So lots of the devices are generic. They just have loads of open pins that you can connect whatever you want to, and others are more purpose-built. The Metro, which I pulled up a minute ago, that's definitely one of the more or I should say one of the more generic ones, the opposite of purpose-built. It takes the Arduino Uno form factor, and it just has lots of broken out I/O pins. And then in this case, also HSTX, which you can connect a display to. It has an SD card, has USB host pins hiding there. So it's a very general device. The Fruit Jam, which is what I'm working on, is very similar hardware, but it is a bit more specific in nature. It's got a few more bits and bobs added on, and it doesn't have as many general pins. Seems okay now. Maybe you just were muting in the muttering. Yeah, that's probably what it was. I was just not talking up, truthfully. I never knew there was a Metro NRF. It makes sense. I think Lady Ada does a lot of Metro designs when she first starts doing a port. I don't know that this one ever got released. That's interesting. I never seen it listed here before. Anyway, just like when Scott's around, I'm also happy to answer questions. Obviously, I don't have insight into everything that he does, but if you have questions about CircuitPython or libraries or contributing or actions or anything else, feel free to drop them in one of the chats. The two that I can see, I should say, are the same two that are on the screen, in fact. The ones below me here, Discord and YouTube. I believe maybe we're live in a number of other places if you're watching this on a platform that's not YouTube or Twitch. Oh, well, we don't have the Twitch chat, though, actually. So, yeah, I don't see the Twitch chat right now. Just Discord and YouTube is where I can see. If you would like to ask a question or get a message to me in some way, that is the place to do it, Discord or YouTube. But I think we are live on a few other places, including Twitch and perhaps some more. As always, we will say thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They're the ones who pay both Scott and myself to work on CircuitPython, as well as a couple other folks on the team. If you would like to support CircuitPython and all the work that Scott and myself do, one of the easiest ways to do it is just buy hardware from Adafruit. You can do that at their website, adafruit.com. The Metro RP2350, which I had pulled up earlier, as well as the Fruit Jam, which I'm working on, are both Adafruit devices. So they design and manufacture lots of these little microcontroller devices, as well as other stuff that you can hook up to your microcontrollers to do. So, as always, thanks to them. Thanks to everyone who purchased hardware from them. We, today, are going to jump into Fruit Jam OS. Scott worked on this a couple of weeks back, working on, or maybe last week, I don't remember for sure, working on pathlib in the core. And then I think looking at the PR from that, it looks like there is a new direction there to go with a Python implementation. So if we look closed here to enhancements, I almost said enchantments. I mean, it kind of fits. Pathlib. So in the last one here, I'm gonna close this and split it. Actually, in the second to last one, pathlib could be Python. In fact, there's already a MicroPython one here, so I'm gonna take that in favor of the core implementation. But I want to still fix this because of other stuff there. Okay, so there's not going to be pathlib in the core, it looks like. There's just going to be the Python level one, and there's a link here to the MicroPython implementation. So earlier today, I got started a little bit. I grabbed this pathlib and I started tinkering in the launcher code, which is CodePy inside of Fruit Jam OS. I started tinkering in here a bit to get it to support that Python level pathlib, and it turned out it doesn't take a whole lot of changes, but it did take a couple. There was some, what was it, listdir, I think. There was like, for some reason, this was using iListdir. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's why these were here, in fact. Oh, that's probably right. Let's take a very brief detour. MicroPython docs OS? What is iListdir? So I bet that's what those other things are. Yeah, here we go. So this returns an iterator, which then yields tuples corresponding to entries in the directory with no arguments that lists the current directory. Otherwise, it's the given directory. The tuples have these name type inode something. So with no other arguments, list the current directory. Otherwise, the given directory. This one's way less specific about what it returns. I assume this one just returns strings, which is actually probably why I got confused earlier. So anyway, this had iLister. I didn't know what that was, and I changed it to lister. That was one change I made, and then I also added iterdir implementation here, which Cloud very kindly helped me to write. And I think perhaps those are the only two changes I had to make. But I'm not positive, not 100% positive, but I think that was it, and that got the current version of Fruit Jam Launcher, which is what's in the repo main branch, that got it able to run. I have here, pulled up with the icon showing. And where I would like to start, I think, is the mouse. So right now, I do have a mouse plugged into the Fruit Jam. I do not have a camera set up that I can show you that with, but you can take my word for it. There is a USB mouse plugged in there. And what I would like to start with is getting it so that you can use it to click on the items. That code is already in here, but it's commented out because Scott was working without a mouse. And in fact, I think there's keyboard handling now. But I have a mouse plugged in, not a keyboard. Actually, it looks like there is some mouse handling. How's it going, Mark Gambler? Nice to see you, my friend. So scanning USB. Port out. So okay, so one thing we could do is we could use the new thing. Oh, but that's doing this here, in fact. Okay. It seems like we should be getting the mouse, right? How's it going, Liz? Nice to see you this evening. I think, I mean, we're reading data here. Okay. Oh, okay, I see what's happened here. Okay, so Scott left in the USB scanning and stuff, and reading, in fact, as well. But he had a keyboard connected, and so he has basically changed it. After data gets read from the USB device, which was keyboard in his case, it's checking to see if the arrow keys were pressed or enter. And then it's doing its thing. It's moving the selected thing around, and it's doing the launch the program. Or it should launch the program here. Doesn't seem like it will. Oh, but we do have a mouse, actually. So are we getting a mouse or not? Okay, let's run this and see what all... So, because there is a bunch of stuff that gets printed here, which I've been paid very close attention to. It says scanning USB, it does this, it says none, none, it says empty byte array, same thing. Got 3 copies of this, and then it goes on. And my mouse, well, normal-ish, I think. One thing we could do is get the latest version of CircuitPython. I have no idea what's installed on my device. The scanning USB here, it does seem like I found the same device 3 times. Because we printed these, and then we got none, which I'm guessing is manufacturer and product. Because this is, so I'll show as well. I'm using the mouse from the shop. For whenever you're ready to field questions. Yeah, I'm ready for questions anytime. Always feel free to shout out questions. Curious if you know what the hardware is included on the latest FruitJam hardware rev versus the Metro RP2350, and what's involved with setting up the OS launcher on a new FruitJam board. Yeah, so I can answer a little bit. I can say the latest, the actual absolute latest FruitJam hardware I don't have yet, but its main difference for the actual latest one, which is still like very, very new, there's only a few of them floating around at this point, I think, is that it has the ESP add-on. So it's got kind of like a Wi-Fi Pro processor. So I do not have that yet. And then in terms of what is different from the Metro, like that's obviously one, because the Metro doesn't have the coprocessor thing going on. And then the other main difference between the Metro and the FruitJam, including the original Rev, like Rev A, I think, or whatever, the first one that I ended up with at least, it doesn't have the coprocessor, but it differs from the Metro still in a few ways, which is that it has HDMI plug on the board. So for DVI, for Pico DVI support, it's got just an HDMI plug that's on the board, whereas the Metro has the HSTX ribbon cable. I should pull some of this stuff up maybe instead of just like talk about it and imagine it. On the Metro, they've got the HSTX ribbon cable right here. You can run that HSTX ribbon cable. If you get a ribbon, you can connect that over to a DVI sock breakout, a DVI like HDMI breakout thingy, and then you can plug that obviously HDMI into a display. The FruitJam just there's no ribbon cable in the mix. You just have the HDMI shaped plug right there that has the Pico DVI output. The other main difference is on the Metro, this has USB host pins broken out right here. You can plug your USB device into this, like the mouse, for instance. You could plug it into these. Well, I mean, obviously you need to put pins or some kind of way to connect it. But, assuming you put pins or maybe solder wires, or I guess, right? Assuming you put that connection there, then you could put your USB device connected to those. The FruitJam, it has a onboard CH33-4F USB hub breakout. And so then instead of just like USB pins broken out, you actually have two USB plugs, two USB connections that you can just plug, standard USB, is it A, I think, the regular old rectangle USB. You've got two of those just like standard USB regular plugs that you can plug in, a mouse or whatever you want to. Do you know if there are any pinout differences on the DVI out? I do not know really anything about the pinout for the FruitJam, honestly. And then I will say also in terms of like setting up your Metro to mimic a FruitJam, I don't know if that was part of your question or not. But if anyone out there is interested in using the Metro kind of to mimic the FruitJam, there's a couple of guides, like Match 3. This is my latest guide where I'm using a Metro, and in fact, I have the USB hub in the mix. I have the breakout one connected to the Metro. That's one. Melissa's Chip Challenge, the memory game I did a couple of weeks back, the Snake game, the Nyan Cat game, and then Anne's breakout, which is down further somewhere, I think. All of those guides, if you are trying to use a Metro to kind of like play along at home with all the work going on for FruitJam, all of those guides are like, for the Metro RP2350. But the like hidden secret, which is not so hidden, is that all of those guides actually also kind of are for the FruitJam. So you can kind of do, and they have the setup and stuff in here as well. So like, this one's talking about using the USB hub, how to get it set up, how to use the two mice, how to prepare the Metro with your HSTX in order to get your DVI output. So all of those guides are good stuff. If you check out the setup pages, you can see how to get your Metro essentially becoming a fruit jam essentially for you to use. So we're not actually finding... So we are finding 3 devices, which is weird. This is printing just a blank byte array. Why, though? That's weird. And then this doesn't find the mouse. But I just did a mouse thing. Okay, hold on. Let me see. We have basic mouse right here. And I just ran this earlier. This just works, right? Basic mouse. Doesn't... Oh, okay, we got this. So this happened. This does happen sometimes. I usually just been resetting. I need to probably find... I'm probably not using the latest build. Oh, interesting. We got that out of the gate. Let's reset again. We could also put some sleep before. Oh, interesting. This time we actually have a thing. Weird, okay. Oh, and this stuff. Wow, we got a lot of stuff different this time, actually. So instead of 3 things, we got 1 thing, and we got it actually having this stuff, and it was able to realize that it was a mouse. Actually did way better that time. Did I not have it plugged in before? I remember when I plugged this in. Anyway, what are we on here? We are on Alpha 2. Actually, that's new, I guess. Is there anything newer than that? Yeah, for sure. Happy to help out. Let's see. But the fruit jam is in this sort of in-between place where it kind of exists as hardware, but not officially listed anywhere yet. Is this... We'll try this. So one thing about USB is that there is like active USB work ongoing. Scott's about to dive back into it a bit more, I think, and TAC has been doing work in Tiny USB and or PicoPio USB, which is used inside of CircuitPython. So you're running the Fruit Jam builds on a Metro. I am running the Fruit Jam builds on the Fruit Jam like prototype hardware. But those Metro guides are all of that stuff also works on Fruit Jam, and once the Fruit Jam hardware is actually out, those guides will kind of be like Fruit Jam guides also. But as of like right here, right now, what I have showing on this capture thing right here, this is coming from the actual Fruit Jam prototype, not the Metro. Currently, although I have used this code there as well. In fact, I think some of the first development that I did of the launcher was on the Metro, although I don't... Okay, so we're ended up on the same one, so I did already have that. It is weird that it didn't show... like the 1 in the name when I downloaded it, but sure. See how long this works out, but I just happened to notice the stripy cat went by, and I noticed before I started that he has not he's been asleep all day. He has not gotten any food today, and I'm guessing at some point he's gonna come asking me for food, and he's not gonna leave me alone until I feed him. So at some point I may need to go do that and then come back after a minute. Okay, so then does the mouse work when it gets detected? Oh. I actually have a theory. Ironically, I think that this might have broken the mouse, actually. So I do have code basic mouse, which I ran earlier and I just tried to run a second ago. I think this might actually break the mouse, though, which is why it must have been in a weird state, and then after resetting a couple of times, we got it back to normal. So what I think is happening, maybe, is this detaches right here, the kernel from the driver or whatever, and then there's no, like, reattaching. There's no logic in here that tries to, like, reattach if necessary. In the set game, the match 3 game, it uses this @exit callback, and then it calls attach kernel driver if it needs to. Let's do that for the launcher, because the launcher is going to probably also have that problem. Oh, the launcher actually does this already. Although it does not... we're not actually storing whether or not it was. I think we should do that. I don't really know what this attach thing does, if I'm honest. But I suspect that we don't want to attach it if it was not attached before. So I'm going to make mouse was attached equals none. Yeah, none. And then I'm going to say if the mouse is active and we're about to detach it, I'm going to set that to true. Else we're going to set that to false. And then down here, we could use @exit. Actually, I think I do want to use @exit because this will also get called, I think, if there's an exception. We don't need all of this. We don't need this. What we're going to do is basically... yeah, so this is just attaching it if it's not currently attached. But I think what we want to do is only attach it if it was originally attached. But again, I don't really understand what the attaching is doing. I think it's more for keyboards than mice, because my mental picture of what I think it means is like the way the keyboard gets automatically read by the CircuitPython system. So we're going to say if... we'll keep this, I guess. So we don't need to attach it if it's already attached, although it shouldn't be, I don't think. Say if it was attached, and if it's not currently attached, then attach it. And we don't need to mess with that. That's another thing we don't care about. Okay, reattach. Set the auto. We don't need that part. Reattach if needed. So @exit, and then we can register that like this. So now when our code exits, this will get a callback, and it will do the mouse thing. And remove it from here because it will get called from that, I think. Ooh, I don't know, actually. If supervisor reload, is that going to call @exit? No, actually. I need to put that somewhere else. There we go. At least our mouse is staying good here. This thing, I think, is shrinking itself sometimes, right? Because we're now smaller than... I don't know if that's when it resets or... Okay, so it's finding the mouse, but it's not moving the mouse. Like, it drew it right there, but I'm moving it around and it's not moving on the screen. So let's look at that. Oh no, this isn't. Okay, earlier I said that it kept the reading the same, but this is not true. This is keyboard reading. I wonder if this is consuming. No, I mean it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't be consuming the mouse. No, because this is printing, and we're not getting any print statements. Like I'm moving the mouse, it's not like spamming print statements or anything. Okay. I don't think that's happening. So then we have this. Um, hmm. We get data read this thing from this thing. Not seem to get any data from that. So are we even inside of here? Read mouse. Right file, yeah. Okay, that's spamming that. Moving the mouse and not getting anything. Got an interface and a index. Let's turn this off because that's spamming a bit too much. Okay, so we got, I did a control C and we got that. All right, yeah, basic mouse, and I can move the mouse around. So I know the mouse works. What's going on here? So here we say device. It's device. The one difference is this one's just taken the first, well, maybe the last device. It's just assuming the device that it found is a mouse. It's not actually checking. It is reading at 81 always. The endpoint we got there as well. Not get set properly? But they must because we saw it get printed here. I don't think this is going to matter, but I'm going to comment this stuff out and just see if that makes a difference. It's not. Oh, got a couple read count zeros, but not like necessarily correlating to me moving. I am moving. We shouldn't be getting 0 anyway. We should be reading like 4 or 8 bytes. Okay. Does it not return count anymore? The one difference is this code is ignoring count, right? It's not doing anything with count. Maybe this is returning 0 even though it did actually read data? But I mean, we're printing it, and I mean, we are seeing zeros, but not like enough for it to be actually just missing all of the mouse events. So this is 4 and the other one is 8. Maybe it's mad about that. Super weird. So mouse is none. Device is looping through these. Those get printed. As long as we see this get printed, then mouse is device. Mouse equals device. Then the attaching happens. Detaching, actually. And then the configuration happens. And then essentially we set up more stuff and we get into the loop and we start trying to read it. Pretty much the same thing we're doing here. Could this be changing? Um, okay, I mean, I see no other, like, obviously there's a bunch of display stuff as differences, but I see no other differences that really make any sense to me, like they would matter. Let's print buff, I guess. I mean, we're still not seeing this get printed, so we're not reading data. Maybe we need a bigger timeout? Need a bigger timeout, though. We're not, like, doing anything that different. Oh, we're back to this thing. Did get an add exit. But we still ended up back in this where it's like, didn't actually find the mouse right. Okay, there we go. Okay, we got a few there, right? And it's trying to move. But it's obviously not working that great. Is it really just the fact that other stuff is drawn? Sorry. Just gonna unplug this for now, actually. Okay. It tries to move, kind of. I'm gonna try a bigger timeout to start with. The only thing I could think of is we drew more stuff, like maybe the display refresh is taking longer, and then that makes this take longer. Not that I believe that all the way, but grasping at air at this point. That is making us get a lot more zeros. And basically making us no longer any real data, which means we don't move the mouse anymore either. And then we're back to that. Oh. That's basically working pretty much. It's like delayed. But it's basically working. Would that be weird? It's on 10 before. Doesn't work there. But does it actually work if I put it back to 20? Is 20 actually like magic, or did we just kind of like get lucky with all the other weirdness and that was the time where it worked? No, 20 is actually just like better for it for some reason. Interesting. But there is like a noticeable delay. Of course, it's tough for me to say, like, I mean, I feel like it's like noticeably not at, like, there's a delay compared to the basic mouse demo, where the mouse basically feels real time, just like my mouse here on the PC does. And this one's just back to zeros again. Weird. 20 is just the magic value. Alright, well, at least we found it, I guess. Oh, we ran out of this thing or whatever. So we are doing inside at exit. Are we actually detaching? I should take the SD card out. Have the SD card in, and this version of CircuitPython auto mounts the SD card, and then my PyCharm, as a result, then goes and tries to like database space, like tries to scan all the files on it and like index them. And I think this SD card has a bunch of old stuff on it. All right, well, I won't worry too much about why this is the magic number or the fact that it does seem... Actually, you know what? Let's turn these off. I wonder if it's more snappy, because I actually do remember Scott saying... No. It's same. I was gonna say I do remember Scott... I don't, maybe it's a little bit snappier? I don't know. A little bit snappier. I do remember Scott saying, well, we are still printing. Are we still printing? I didn't save. I remember Scott saying that right now when you print, even if you don't have the terminal up... Are you serious? Now it doesn't work. Do we need to either print or like print and 20? Oh, now we're back to that, so we got to reset. Yeah, so as you can see, USB under active development. This is back to not working. So Scott was saying right now when you print, even if the terminal is not visible, it's spending time to like render text that you printed. It didn't find the mouse, so we only got like one try and it didn't find it. So I was like, let me take the prints out because the prints are writing to the terminal even though it's not visible. But now without the prints there, it just doesn't work. It's really weird. I don't really understand what's going on with that. Back to this. So now we're just getting only one try. Getting like 2 or 3 resets before it was getting into that state. Oh. I have control again. But now I feel like the delay is even worse. And now we have to wait for this to index again. I'm going to let it finish and then I'm going to unplug the SD card. So hopefully it won't be doing that next time. It's that PyCharm will be quicker. Actually get code fast. I am very confused by that. And so I assume we need to reset again? No, we actually got it this time. This is... I don't know, maybe the delay is not any worse. Maybe the delay is about the same. That was just an auto reload. Okay, and then this does happen sometimes. Honestly, I think it's likely this might be the same root cause as the other thing where this is coming back empty and these are empty. I don't know it for a fact, but that's kind of my guess. Okay, so I can at least move the mouse. Can I click this? I can, but nothing happens. Okay, let's work on that next. Need to open the code again. So that should be checking for a click. Left click. Yep. I think it is about time for that cat feeding that I was talking. Are you serious? Not working. Hey, on here. I don't know why, like, sometimes this manages to stay open, but not all the time. It closes. So then we're back to that. Alright, I'm gonna go feed the cat, because he's reached the stage where he's definitely not gonna leave me alone, so BRB. Okay. Eating. May have to go distract him with the window in a little bit. How that goes. Maybe I'll try. Let me just try another mouse. I will say this is the wired mouse that's in the shop. Um, which I just received recently, or I think I received it last week, but I just started using recently. A lot of the rest of the stuff that I've done with mice, all the games, the learn guides, and everything, those were all using these other mice that I have here. So I plugged in one of those. Okay, so this time we got left clicked. Oh, okay. So this is a thing that Scott was working on adding. And I just don't have that in my code. So our two choices are go build the branch that has that, I think, because I don't think, is there a branch? So there was this one, which is that working directory. So this was in here, but I don't think I don't think there's been a new PR yet about working directory. Oh, actually, right here. Okay, we want to build this. So small detour. Right. Um, Dash? Uncommitted. Stash. You. Well, I'm in a deeper thing. But we're not going to make Atmel. Um, 10263. Adafruit fruit chicken. Make board. Oof. Hopefully this doesn't take too terribly long. The Raspberry Pi builds are usually like fairly quick, kind of. See, 40 seconds, minute or less usually. Some of the ports get pretty long. The espresso one sometimes can take a couple minutes. I haven't made an espresso minute either. Work on those root pointers. Failed. Module. I think might need to do a clean. We need to wait through that build again, and then we also it'll be longer than it would have otherwise been since we did a clean. I'm guessing what happened, like probably the last time that I built, because like up here there was this, which has the remnants of the last build. Probably the last time that I built, it had pathlib, the core one. And it saved some in-between step or whatever that now it doesn't have. Unbin, activate. So the click did actually work with this mouse. So it is possible, like, I know, like, I think Scott was having trouble with the wired mouse, and I was getting it to work on the basic one, but I guess, like, it definitely seems like there's still ghosts in there a little bit. And I think he is going to work on USB stuff some more. Gonna try to before he leaves, I believe. Is building. Okay, while that's running, one thing I want to look into is in the build of Fuji OS, there's this build.py. Oh, here's this. Okay, that time it succeeded. So I'm gonna get to bootloader and a firmware. So in the FruitJam OS repo, there is build, which zips a bunch of stuff up together. Well, I don't know. Really what I'm getting at is right now there is the desktop thing is trying to use icons like this matrix icon, but those icons aren't included in the zip right now. Need to figure out where those are going to live, and I guess they could just live with the code and the assets for that other app. That means the icon will get downloaded even by a person who's not using the FruitJam OS thing, like just from Learn, they would get it with the project bundle. Like for instance, the Matrix project, you would click download project bundle and you would get an icon, which if you're just using the Matrix thing by itself, you wouldn't actually need. But then it would exist so that when this thing downloads it, it has the icon inside there, which is, I believe, where the desktop is getting it from, right? Icon dot. Yeah. So I have right now only one. I have apps, matrix, which has code and icon. Okay, if we add the icons to here, there's really not, we don't actually need to do anything different. We just need to put them in with the stuff. Project. We'll have to decide if that's like problematic that the icon gets included in the project bundle, even though it's not needed, but I don't think I land on the side of it's not really that problematic. It takes up a little bit of space, but honestly, we're not really hurting for space on these devices. Okay, so that's going. We should be okay. So yeah, let's see if we can click now. That's where we were at. Is we tried to click and it. Oh, I have snappy mouse now. Mouse is at full speed now. There's no delay. I can just move it and it's like a real mouse, just like this one. Interesting. What else? Interesting. Does this change anything with USB? I don't know. I don't see anything USB related. Keep that open. I don't see anything USB related, but for some reason now I do have like full speed USB. Not full speed like official term, like how fast, how much data gets sent. Just full speed as in like when I move it, it moves and it feels live. It feels normal. Does not feel delayed. Okay, so we're going to click this. No such file or directory. Matrix characters. Okay, so that's because it's looking in the root. Well, no, it's looking in the directory where it is, because now change work directory actually works. So the thing is, this matrix thing actually needs to be inside of matrix, inside of apps. This needs to be in here. Maybe something changed with the display update. That could be. Maybe he did the thing with the terminals or whatever. There we go. Okay, nice. Yes. Oh. I think we maybe got an auto reload in there. Did it restart it again? I think we got an auto reload. One thing, so this is small again, by the way. Right? This was totally bigger before. One thing I want to do, but I'm not going to do it right now, is change the matrix code to check the size of the display. And if it is initialized at the big size, which it is right now, which is the default, then I'm going to have the matrix code release the display and reinitialize it at the small size, because the matrix, like, it can't update fast enough. Like this, it's real slow, kind of, right? Like you can kind of see the like scan line moving down the screen as it goes, which is not necessarily how the effect is supposed to go. And the one where it's on the smaller display, it's able to go a bit quicker. But that's neither here nor there. As far as the launcher is concerned, that's not the launcher's problem. Okay, clicking is working. So the other thing is, I think Matrix, I think it's like Q though. If I press Q, I think it quits, but I can't actually press Q because I don't have a keyboard plugged in. I could use a combination keyboard mouse. We try to see if that works. I have this Logitech combination keyboard mouse. Got a trackpad on it, not technically a mouse, but presents as a mouse. All right, so I can move it with the trackpad, then I can click. And if I recall right, I believe the matrix code has a press Q to escape. Yeah. Oh. It is, but it's relaunching itself. I think it needs to do something else. Anyway, we are getting a bit off of the trail here, but I guess that's fine. So right now... Oh, fascinating. Wait, what? If you press Q, does supervisor reload? Supervisor reload. So supervisor.setNext code file, does that must last for more than one reset? Because in here we said setNext code file and then supervisor.reload. And then in here we just say supervisor.reload. We end up back in the same file. So next code file must stay the same. So we need to get this back to main. Well, we need to get it back to CodePy, I mean. Oh. That's probably it, right? I guess I should look at the arguments. Circuit Python docs supervisor. Sticky on reload. We want that? Why is this cut off? Oh, because there's more than one? Determine whether the newly set file names stay in effect. Interesting. I mean, Scott set it to true. In my load on error, that one do? Not sure what this means. Does that mean like if the thing you launch next has an error, then what do you do? Or does this mean like something else? Not sure. Yeah, I guess we'll keep it like that for now. In my mind, I was thinking this, well, I mean, I didn't even know this existed, but now that I do, I would say in my mind, I was thinking that the launcher would not want this. The launcher would want this to be false because it wants to launch the app you clicked on once, and then whenever you exit out, it wants to come back to the launcher. That being said, there's multiple ways that can be achieved, right? Because here we could also just say like what I started doing with this. We can say when they press Q from the matrix thing, then set the next code file back to CodePy, which is the launcher. The working directory is going to be root. Should be everything back to default. Then we reload. And theoretically, then we can go back. Okay, so there's that. And then if I press Q, nice, we're back to the launcher. Okay, very good. Okay, mouse is working. We can go back and forth. Next thing I want to look at is the arrow buttons. Right now, these arrow buttons are down here, but they don't do anything. The idea was going to be when there's enough apps that it needs to go to the next page that it would paginate. Do we want to make this double again? I almost want to like make this twice as big again. Because one thing that happened is the default display, like I was talking about with the matrix, the default display size got bigger, which means that all of these icons actually got smaller visually. Because I created this launcher the first time around on the smaller size. Unfortunately, I mean, we could just do this, but I don't think that will actually work. Okay, let's do this. I think this is the way I'm going to start handling this. So I'm going to say scale equals 1 if display.width is the width of this. $720. So I'm going to say if the width is greater than 320. No. 400? No. 360. If it's bigger than 360, then we know we're on the big, quote unquote, what I'm calling the big resolution, which means I'm going to want scale 2. So then that's going to say scale. And like here, that's going to say 2 times scale. That's only one thing. Still need to fix a lot more. So where is... You get rid of this pretty soon, I think. Menu. So then here, there's another one. We would say times scale. So this will basically make it work for both sizes without the rest of the code having to worry about it. Well, obviously some of the code has to worry about it, but these I don't think change. I don't know. Let's see what happens when we run it here. Oh, we can't run it because this is on the REPL. Okay, there we go. Launcher is there. I cannot move the mouse. Oh, wrong mouse. I can move the mouse. I just had the wrong one. The clamp is not going to be working right. I can move the mouse off the side. Well, the right side and the bottom side. So let's fix the clamp. That is where? That is in here. So that's display width. So what we're going to do is say display width divided by scale. -1, yeah. Oops. This is my lap. Okay, there we go. Now we're clamped. See, you can see the little pixel of the mouse there. It's not actually going, like it's off the screen, most of it, but it's one pixel stays on, which is pretty much how mice behave. Cool. Okay. Does the click still work? It does. But did we just get lucky? Like, did I click where it was, where it would have been, even if it was the small one? What if I click, like, way over here? It still worked. Nice. I'm actually surprised that still worked. Not sure why that works, but I'm gonna just go with it for now. Once we start adding more things, maybe we'll find that it doesn't actually work, but... Okay, the arrow buttons are gone. They're too far down. They're down here somewhere. Arrow buttons. Okay, anchor. Okay, so that's nice, actually. This will be super easy. We can just go height divided by scale. There we go. That's back. I don't know if the second row is going to fit. I swear the second row fit. Oh. Ah. Yes. I know what happened. When I made this the first time, The default display resolution, not only was it the smaller size, but it was actually a different size. At one point in time, the default display resolution was 320 by 240, and then the default display resolution changed to 360 by 200, and then it changed again to double that, so 720 by 400. When I first made the launcher, I made it for 320 by 240. Do we really need this? I feel like if we didn't have this, we might like have enough room. Of course, there's a decent amount of space here. Let me put another thing so that we can see one in the middle. I'm just gonna copy this for now. It does seem like this mouse is a lot less problematic, so I guess that wired one does still have some demons in it, kind of. Okay, maybe. We're at a maybe. I'm going to duplicate it a few more times so that we can get the next row. If we scooch this up and maybe we get some smaller arrow buttons, maybe we can still do this. It might be too long. I don't know what the maximum text it can show is. I'm just making it, like, obviously I just copied matrix and called it snake, but I want to get some things here. Is that 5 or 6? 5. There we go. Okay, so we have all of those. We're not centered horizontally, but that's fine. We also have, I bet maybe we, okay, so by the time, this is like auto reload. Gotta turn that off, I guess, but. So if we got rid of some of the space here and we got rid of some of the, oh man, that is, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of auto reload. I'm also gonna take a backup of this. Okay, hopefully that will stop just randomly resetting as much. Scan again. Okay. So I guess where that size is coming from is this, and so we could go up to 340, and then, so this was assuming we had 240 height, and we actually got 40 pixels less now. Do we just straight subtract 40 pixels from this? Will that actually work? Oh, right, this won't auto-reload anymore. That. Okay, so that is too tight. And we didn't actually shrink this up any. The width looks better. There's like kind of a lot of space here now, but whatever, I guess. It's kind of how widescreen goes. Now that I see it like this, I am less confident there's enough room. Let's work on scooching it up some. So that says 26. I wonder, is it janky to like put the arrows on the side? Instead of left and right arrows at the bottom, what if there was left and right arrows on the side? Or I guess we could do like a left arrow here and a right arrow here and just make them not as wide. I kind of like that. That might be the answer. Because then we can stretch this back out vertically and we could shrink these a little horizontally, which is going to give us room on the sides. Yeah. 13 was a bit too much. We don't really need 26 or whatever it was before. That was way too far under the title. But 13 was too close. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. So let's go more narrow here. So then we have 30 pixels on either side if we do that. We could still scrunch in some more, honestly. We don't want to go too far because the titles could get long. Like that one's starting to poke out, but what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh. Maybe a little bit more. Let's not go too far. 280 or 290? 80. That's going to be awfully scrunched, probably, right? That's not bad, actually. I think I like that. So let's do that. We're going to go back to this. Those now have enough room. We could actually go a little bit smaller. We don't quite need all of that on the side or up down there. Oh, there you go. Instead of left right. Yeah, that's the way to do it, actually, is up down arrows. Although, if we're going to have one arrow on the left and one arrow on the right, I think we might as well keep them as left and right. Why are we not centered anymore? Oh, right. So I did this 280. So that means we have 80 pixels total. We want 40 on each side. At some point, I think I'm going to change the backgrounds. I don't really care for this background color too much. I think Scott chose that. I'm guessing he chose it because of the green in the buttons. But the green in the buttons also was not... That was something I chose, but chose is a bit strong of a verb, I guess. Really what I did is just looked through my icons and found the first arrow that I found and used it. It happened to be green, so I put a green border on it. Yeah, so now we could have left and right buttons there. They could be up and down, but realistically, I think it's the same difference. And in my brain, it makes sense to just have, like, if we're going to put one here and one here, it makes sense to use left and right instead of up and down. Although, like, theoretically, conceptually, you could think about it like scrolling up and down, and that's honestly probably a closer fit. Like, conceptually, we pretty much are scrolling up and down. But I think I'll keep the arrows. Oh, interesting. Up, down arrows on the left and a scroll bar on the right. I don't... scroll bar is interesting. I don't think I'm going to do a scroll bar just yet because... Oh, I used the wrong mouse again. Oh, now it's back to delayed. Interesting. So the scroll bar is an interesting idea, but it does kind of imply like this will scroll, like a scroll bar scrolls by pixels, right? If I drag this, it's like everything moves. If I just scroll a teeny tiny bit, then everything just moves a few pixels. What we're gonna have here, though, at least in my mind, is pagination. And so there will be no in-between pages. You could still have a scroll bar and it would just like snap to the pages, but we don't have like a class or anything that does that yet. And I don't necessarily want to spend too much time on it before the rest of the launcher is done and working. I'm going to... actually do those by themselves. They're 24 by 24. .24 by... oh, it's not symmetrical. 24 by 22 they are, actually. So I'm going to try to make a button that is 32 wide by maybe 48 tall. We're going to make it like portrait mode. And I'm going to basically... this one bit. Oh, this is different right here also. So different. It's not even gonna work. Is this further back? It's in this. This. Six pixels. Also, this is not in the middle. Pixels below, 10 pixels above. That's not in the middle. That's why everything. Oh boy. Boy, this does not actually matter that much, but I really wish I just had a good arrow pixel art. Much. It's symmetrical. It bothers me that it's not symmetrical. How can we fix this quickly? Okay. How do we fix this quickly? We get rid of these. Delete that, delete this. And then we now have 6 pixels there and only 5 pixels there. So we also get rid of this. Now we have 6 pixels there and 6 pixels there. This is still aligned. And then that's actually symmetrical now if we take this. Okay. I'm gonna do blue actually, I think, because it's better. Especially if we're gonna have the background try to like match it. We can still go with the rounded thing. I'm gonna save this because my GIMP has been doing this thing where it just crashes sometimes, which is want rounded edges. Percent. More than that. Five. Okay, do that. And then we want to fill this. Let's actually shrink. No. Let's fill this with blue. I wish I could turn off transparency. Like the way these are transparent, I don't want that. Like one of the ways that I know that I can do that is mode indexed, but the problem with that is then well, first of all, that didn't even work, so that's one problem with it. That not work. Sense. Well, that usually works, so I don't know. I don't even know what the problem is with that actually. Okay, so maybe we don't use fill and instead we use a giant pencil. It's still not working because I don't know why. So let's just undo all of this. Maybe because the select was selected before we went to indexed, it was like an RGB select with transparency. I don't even know what the problem is. It could be. I just want a button. I really just want to have a button and go back to the code. All right, well, this is no longer indexed, so there's one problem, I guess. Still doesn't matter. Okay, but then the select was wrong again. Hold on. Unselect. Unselect everything. Colors. Indexed, convert, select. Make the box, cover everything. It is 32 by 48. Everything is selected. The mode is indexed. Shrink, no. Rounded, 25. Fill, doesn't work. Mode is still indexed. This doesn't work either. Don't know. I think the select is like not working right, basically. I think the select is selecting with transparency. Oh. Okay. Hard cut corners now. Way harder than it should. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna shrink pixels. Then I'm gonna fill this with black. Gonna work. Pencil this with black, which is also not gonna work. Do I have invert selection? Oh, right. We don't have black because we are in indexed. I have to go back to RGB. We are on inverted now. I want black here. Interestingly, this time we got actual black. Oh, all right, hold on. Just save this, and then we're actually back to RGB now, and I really do want to go back to indexed. And that broke it because I had stuff selected when I did that, and I shouldn't do that. Back to this. And actually, I'm just going to merge this down also. Then I'm going to go back to indexed. I'm going to export this. And instead of doing all that again for the right arrow, we should be able to just do this. Export it again. Bitmaps. Oh, we need transparency. Shoot. Yes. Okay, not done yet. Let's see. Oh, and this is now wrecked. Why? So RGB, we go new layer. Transparency, we go below this. We go pink. That. Merge down. Go back to indexed. I guess the black would, well, the black would matter if we're not on a black background, which we aren't, so. Index. We also need to make sure pink is at index 0. So let's do that. Then we can export. That's arrow right. Where we are on index. Flip. Left arrow. Then on the device, we'll put them into launcher assets. Where these go. Right. Did overwrite for all. So there's that. Launch. And this will now be blue. There. Okay. We'll maybe tweak the color still later. But it's at least there. It's visible. It does fit here. I want to move it up. Also, the right button is nowhere. So, right button. Probably we need another... Oh, yeah, we need this here. Okay, let's also say this was... Oh, right. Okay, so that's saying go to the bottom of the screen. I'm actually going to go to halfway down the screen. So we divide it by 2, and then we divide it by scale. Which I think earlier we used a multiply for instead, but... Okay, and then the other thing is these are anchored at the bottom. I'm going to make them anchored in the middle so that they actually go centered within the display. But it actually matters that much. Okay. So I'm going to make another one of these. Gonna see if this crashes, because I don't know if there's like an index error or what. Oh, it just made another one down here. Interesting. Is it not hard-coded? I thought it was hard-coded. Grid layout get made. They use this config. You just find a bug with grid layout? I think it's like it's drawn down there, right? Like if we make it shorter in the Y direction, we'll see the next one. I think grid layout maybe doesn't enforce the size. I think maybe grid layout, once you set the size, if you just keep adding more content, even if it's outside the grid, it lets you? That's what it seems like. Because... So this is path editor. Add content. Yeah. Yeah, totally. There's no logic in here that's like, is grid position actually within width and height, which were passed at the initialization? Well, not width and height, those are in pixels, but grid size right here, the size in cells. So add content is taking a cell coordinate, grid position it calls it, but it's not validating that grid position is actually inside of grid size. And it should. Grid layout, add content, doesn't validate. Make a grid layout with grid size of 2. Grid is an exception. Any grid position is outside of that asked to add content. Okay. In the meantime, we fix that by, we need to be building pages here. And truth be told, in 12 minutes, we're not going to have enough time to write logic for pages and then activate it, I don't think. How should the logic for pages look? I think, actually, maybe we should do this. Pages is a list. Let's say, per file index, we start on 0. We add 1 every time. We're already adding 1 with. Where does that come from? It's kind of doing what we want already, but it's just a generic name. I'm going to keep this cur file index and then add 1 to it here. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put an empty dictionary in this. Then we're also going to say cur page. We start on 0. And I think I'm going to make this a dictionary that just holds these things. It's not going to hold the display objects. We're not going to like build all the display objects and then take those in and out of the grid layout. Instead, we are going to hold the actual data, the icon, the text, the code file, the actual data. We're going to put that into the dictionary inside the pages list. And then we're going to have a thing that says load the first page into the grid layout. And then eventually we could say load the nth page into the grid layout. And then when you click the arrow buttons, N will go up or down and it will load. So here, we're actually already doing this, actually. We have apps, which has everything we need, in fact. Maybe we should just use apps. Maybe we don't need pages. Yeah. I think I'm not gonna bother with pages, actually. I think we can just use apps. And then what we'll do is we'll take the first N. I know I just used N a minute ago, and this is a different N, so sorry, but we'll take the first N, which N will be width times height, so we know it's going to be 6. So basically, in this loop, we build a list of apps. That list will be however many apps we have. I have 7 currently. And then what we'll do is in the next loop, we will add the first 6. So for path.name, though, does path.name, how does it know to launch later? Apps index. I think that's going to launch the wrong thing, isn't it? Because that's looking inside a config. I think we just got lucky that... Oh, but matrix isn't the first one. Do the rest of these actually launch matrix? This apps index file is... Oh, this is title, not file. Okay. I'm with it now. I got it now. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be a list of dictionaries which represent each app. And then we want to loop over the first 6 of them. We loop over all of apps, but if there is more than 6, we only loop over the first 6. And then when we get in here, it's actually using path. Is it? It's actually not using path. It's always using apps, which is good. So what we'll do is we'll just say here, this doesn't need to be -1 anymore. It should be I. I think for all of these. Okay. So theoretically, we should still get the thing, and we shouldn't be able to see that one peeking out down here. Yeah, nice. Okay, so we don't have that last one. Cool. We actually have 6 showing now. And then the next thing I would like to do is how do we want to do this? We could we kind of have to at a minimum we have to make a new tile grid, I think. Well, entirely true. We could keep the tile grid, but we have to use a new palette. We have to load. We have to load again no matter what. So basically, we want to generalize this. We want to like refactor this to where you would be able to pass in the page. And so this is looping 0 through 6, but what we'll want to do is you loop through the 6 things that are on your current page. So if you're on page 0, then that's 0 through 6. If you're on page 1, that's now 7 through 13. 12. I think 12. Not sure though. We're gonna definitely have to load the icon, but we could maybe just reuse the tile grid. Because the icon should still be the same size. And we will have a new palette for it. The text box, I think we could just reuse, maybe. But one question is, like, how do we get it to reuse the one that's there instead? I think we need to, like... check 7 through 12, okay. 1 through 6, 7 through 12. We have 0 through... Oh, 0 through 5. That's how I messed myself up. 0 through 5 is actually the first page. Indexes. 0-based indexes. So that, yeah, 0 through 5 would be the first page indexes, and then 6 through 11, actually. I messed that up again. Yeah. 13 was too far by 2, actually. So 11. 6 to 11. I think we need to, like, get content, actually. I think here we will need to say... We will need to get the XY coordinates, so maybe we should be looping over XY instead of just I, for one thing, because we really need to get the coordinates in the grid, and then we need to get content. There's now a grid.get content. It's brand new. I might not even have it on mine. But there's a get content, you give it an XY, and then it will either give you the group that was added, so it would give you the cell group that was added before, or if there's nothing there, then it will give you none, or I think it maybe raises an exception, index error or value error or something. So we could try to get the thing out of it. If that succeeds, then just use the thing, and if it doesn't succeed, then we got to make a new one. Yeah. And then even if it does succeed, we are going to have to load the new icon and palette. But what we'll be able to do, I think, is just set it on the old tile grid. And then we'll also be able to just reuse the text box by changing the text that is on it. And then we would not need to call add content if the thing was already added before. So essentially this chunk of code would have two modes. The like if the cell group is already there and if the cell group is not already there. If it's not already there, it gets created and all the stuff gets initialized. If it is already there, we just update the things inside of it. That's the goal, I think. But I think we have reached time pretty much for now. That flew by, honestly. I'm surprised that it has been 2 hours. I guess we spent a minute on the mice. And I have not had any mouse trouble since then. So I guess there is that wired mouse. There's like, I think there's like full speed, low speed problems still. I don't know which one the mouse is, but maybe that's part of that. Anyway, since I switched to the other ones, it has not been as big of a problem. It hasn't done the reset thing at all either, right? Where it's saying USB error or doing the blank descriptor, but in any case, yep, for sure. Thanks for hanging out, Gordy G. Thank you, everyone else, for hanging out. Anyone who's in the chat, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening or whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, good weekend, all that stuff. If you are interested in CircuitPython and this type of content where people are working on CircuitPython code, you might be happy to learn that I also stream on Saturday morning for my time in the central US time. So I stream at 10 a.m. Central time on Saturdays. So I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. my time. Right now it's 6 p.m. my time. So I'll be back at 10 a.m. my time tomorrow morning over on my own channel, streaming some more CircuitPython stuff. I may end up changing that as we get into the deep dives, once I get to doing deep dives more regularly while Scott's gone. But for right now, I will keep it, and I'll figure out when that will happen and what I will move to. But for now, the normal time, which has been the normal time since I started streaming Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. So I'll be back then if you want some more CircuitPython stuff. Otherwise, I believe, like I said at the top, I believe the plan is that Scott is going to plan to do deep dive next week. And then I think that is the last one for him until he's back from leave, which will be much later in the year. So with that said, I will see you tomorrow. He will see you next week, potentially. I hope you have a good day and a good weekend and all of that. And see you later. Thanks for watching.